Hey guys, I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on controllers for your DAW. Everything from the fader port to soft tube console one, everything from Behringer, Mackey's, the Raven Slate Digital, which is kind of cool but expensive. Even the Icon Pro Q something that looks like a really cool console, but they all seem to be failing in one, I think, important part that I need it, and that's plugin controller. They all fail in controlling plugins, and although they say they can, and I know they can, but to learn each of your plugins on 8 knobs, even if you have a display on there, it's kind of hard to see every time you pull up a plugin. I say screw that. Right now I'm using a StudioLive Series 3 console in DAW mode with Presonus Studio One. Works flawlessly, works great, but I don't control the plugins from it. What I found, and I should have done this video a long time ago, but I got a day job and I've been busy with other shit, so I decided to do this. Maybe somebody out there can go, holy shit, that's really cool. So now it doesn't matter what controller you use, get one that's got a nice faders, that's not too expensive. Don't worry about controlling plugins because they all suck, at least that so far, to date. I got this Behringer, cheap-ass Behringer BCR2000, and I have it mapped to every plugin that I pull up, but because I have so many knobs on there, no matter what compressor I bring up, the knob that's labeled here, that's labeled compressor, is going to be labeled threshold is going to be the same for every compressor that I put up in there. Same, I got knobs over here that are low, mid, high, EQ, high pass filter, low pass filter, Q, frequency, gain. They're always going to be the same for no matter what plugin I put up there. So that's how I programmed it. So really, you don't have to worry about looking in the little display. All your knobs, the threshold is always going to be in the same place. The EQ is always going to be in the same place. And it makes it so much easier to control plugins, which seems to be what all these people fail at. Now, of course, you got the soft tube console one. That's great. I think you can put it in MIDI mode and control everything else, which is great. But then what if you have, I don't know if I've looked at the console one a couple times, and it looks like there's not everything is in there, like what if you have a disaster, like the Shep's Omni channel, which I use a lot. There's de-essers, there's all these different things. There's a preamp saturation dial. Well, I got that mapped on here. The soft tube, forget it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to program this thing and how to do it the right way, especially through Studio One, because I learned the wrong way a long time ago. And then I realized, wait a minute, this thing is crazy. You got like 32, 36 buttons on here, but then you got page buttons. It's nuts. I got more buttons than I know what to do with. So anyways, stick around, check this out. I'm going to show you step by step on how to make it with Studio One. Couple tricks that you got to do if you are using the StudioLive console, and if you're using UCNET in Studio One, I'll show you where you got to shut that off. But yeah. Anyways, check it out. Okay, so here we got Studio One open. If you go down here, make sure this external button is on, and you'll see a whole list of all your stuff. Currently, I have the BCR2000 already put in here, but we're going to start from scratch and do one again, so that way you can kind of see what's going on. So if you go here, you hit Add. Now, don't make the mistake that I did the very first time when I got this thing by choosing the pre-signed whatever, Presonus and Behringer collaboration. I don't know what the hell this thing is, but this was kind of stupid. The BCR here, 2000, did not give you the full functionality of what this thing is capable of doing. What happens is it only gives you like the bottom row bottom 16 row of the knobs and the top 8 row of knobs, and a couple buttons here and over here, and it's useless. It I got by until I find out that it's better to do this, new control surface. So let's click on new control surface. Let's make it BCR2K. And I'm going to choose the BCR2000. Of course, it's going to give me the error that says, hey, it's already in use. I'm like, yeah, I know it's already in use because I've already got it in here. So it doesn't matter. I'm going to redo it again. So, yep, it's already there. So hit OK. So now if you go over here, you see the BCR2K. If you double click on it, there's nothing there, right? Well, go in here, go into MIDI Learn. And when you hit MIDI Learn, now watch this. As soon as I start touching these knobs, they all start popping up. Now I'm going to do that right now, just for the fun of it. Let's see, we get all these here, there, and there, and there. Okay, so let me size this so it makes a little more sense. I got 1 through 8, so at the very top, the next 3 rows. Now, if you want, you can hit these buttons. And I'm just going to go along and do that. These buttons don't really do anything until you start changing pages. If you hit this button, this is another set of rows. This is another set of buttons. Here's another set of rows, another set of buttons, so on and so forth. So you got this 4 times 8. I mean, it's unbelievable how many buttons you can assign. All right? Way more than the Presonus BCR had ever thought. All right, so let's get out of here. Let's do these buttons here. And as you see, I already have it assigned to, it's mapped to the, bring up the plugin window. So right now, we got this. If I go MIDI Learn, turn it off now, no matter what button I touch, it's not gonna do anything. But it's still gonna show me that they're active. Now, what I've done here in MIDI Learn, I went in, and it took a while, but I made sure I hit transmit value. You transmit value on all of these. You can see that if I do that, it's highlighted. Now what happens is if I wiggle this button, you can see how it changes effect over here. That's just giving you a transmit value. That means whenever you change something on the computer, it'll actually show you on your BCR, so you kind of get an idea of you know, where things are. I always like it when it jumps around, because when you start popping from one plugin to another, all these knobs will relocate to where that plugin is got it on. I mean, pretty cool. All right, so now that we got that, down here where these knobs were, these buttons, I'm sorry, you see how these buttons show up here? It's not really, it's transmitting value from my BCR here to show me where they are. See, it's only going halfway. This one's going a little bit further, like 2 o'clock. This one's going 2 o'clock. This one's 2 o'clock. If I go to here, it goes full, goes all the way to full on. That's telling me that this button here can be programmed to have a maximum and minimum value. Like if I go to here, you see it says 127 in the display in the Behringer. If I go all the way down, it goes down to 7. Well, I have that set to 7 because this right here is my cue. If I go any further than 7, I could stop at like 30, 40. If I go all the way to make my my bandwidth really wide, it's too wide. I mean, it's stupid wide. It's almost like, might as well just take the volume or the fader and just turn the whole track down. So it's kind of useless, but I went kind of to 7 just because this button could be used for something else later on that might not be an EQ or a Q or something. But just to let you know that you can actually change the maximum value of these numbers, like my low pass, high pass filter goes to 74 or 73. That's because I don't want the high pass filter going all the way to 20K. That's useless. That's kind of not what I really wanted to do. So I went to 73, which I think is around, like, maybe, depending on what plugin, it might be 200 or maybe, I don't know, 250. hertz. But anyways, that's things that you can do with these knobs. You can get into the BCR and edit what these little values do. Now here you can't change the LEDs to do anything other than just one dot. And I'm fine with that. You know, it's just one dot. But up here you can change this to do, you know, to do that. It can fill up like this, where it's doing this thing, you know, and it can fill up backwards. So it's like, looks like a low pass filter. If you can see that. So it's kind of cool where you can do that, or you can make it to where it's just like a button, just like down here. And of course I can go to this page, see if these are all, these I haven't been messed with. I haven't done anything to these. They're just like, you know, whatever. And again, here's another one. You can, like if you wanted to set it up as a pan, gives you an idea just by quickly looking at it, if it was a pan, that you could see what it was doing, which is really kind of cool. Also, we didn't do, but this is a button, that's a button, this is a button, and so on. All these top row 8 are buttons. These are not buttons, these are just knobs. They just do that, which is fine. What I have here is, you can see on the, maybe on the display here, this is my bell and shelf select button for an EQ. So if I have a shelf, I can hit that. It won't change the display of my cue, but at least I know I can mess around with the gain as being a shelf or a bell. Down here, you can see these buttons are the 4 that are down here. What I have assigned here, I assigned this as a, let me go back to this display. I have it set to a loop point. That's my loop on and off. If I go back to the beginning, hit the loop, loop on, loop off, go away, make a little further about. All right, so that button is there for that. This button brings up my plugin window. So now, as you can see, I had some of these mapped already to this EQ. So there. Let's go back to this, close that. Another thing I wanted to touch on is when I set the in point, and if I go to the out point, set here, sometimes I actually have to hit the button twice in order for it to take. As you can see up here, it's counting 9, 10, 11, 12. I had to change these buttons and this button, loop on and off, to increment. Now, if I show you here, hit edit, bring that up. Let's see, where's increments? Increment. So if it was set to normal, transmit on, transmit off, I would actually have to hit the button twice to get the in point. Hit twice to get the out point, which is, you know, not a big deal, but I don't want to have to sit there and look up at the screen and go, oh, shoot, I forgot to hit it twice. Or I was hitting it twice, but it was already on the second stroke because I hit it one time before. So you change it to increment, and now it'll go the very first time you hit the button. All right. That's one thing I guess figured out and made it much easier. All right, so let me get back down to here. As you can tell, that these are buttons, but this little indicator here looks like it's a knob. Well, if I right click on it, nothing's gonna happen, right? Because I'm not MIDI learn. So here we go. Right click on it. You can change it to where it looks like a knob. I mean a button. When you have a button, you can make the button a shortcut in anything in Studio One. So if I right click on it, it says assign command. A knob, you cannot assign a shortcut. Right click on it, hit assign command. Right now it's show channel editor, which is what you need in Studio One to make your plugin pop up, so you can see what it's looking at. looking like. Again, if I go, let's see, cancel that out, set loop start point, sign command, it's set loop start. So really, if I sign command, type in here what you want, toggle loop. Simple. And that's for every button. If I wanted to, where I had these knobs which were actually buttons when I assigned it, I could make tons of shortcuts. So that's that. But I'd rather have it as a knob, because it'll give me an idea when I come along to a knob that's, let's say, for example, here, that's not full 0 to 127. Then I know if I have an issue, I can always go back in and reprogram that knob or that button with what it should be. And some of you might be thinking, well, I know, you got your knobs up here. You don't want it to go further than whatever for your high pass filter, the 20K, which is stupid, right? Kind of here, I will run it across a couple of plugins that might have 3 buttons in the window, like the Schoeps Omnichannel. I don't have it loaded on this computer, but it will actually have 3 knobs that you can select. Like it could be a shelf, a different kind of shelf from a different, mimicking a different EQ. It could be a bell. So there's 3 buttons. If I select this, it could go for the first button to the second button. If I click this, it might go to the third button. And that's the only reason why I do that. Sometimes when I have 3 buttons, I will change it into a knob, because I get to like if you look up here, I can cycle through all the knobs, all the buttons that are assigned to that plugin. There's just a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of stuff that you can really get into deep into here. And if I have time, maybe I'll show you how to get in here and edit each knob and what it does. And maybe we'll do that now. Let's say if you look here, it goes to 73. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit edit, hold the edit button, and then wiggle this. Now you can see that it's changed, and you see it says bar. I can make it bar minus, spread, which is like an well, like what I have on my cue, pan, dual, cut. I mean, there's like a lot of different a lot to choose from. On this one, I have bar. On here, you can see where it's 73, 0 to 73. 1, 2, 3. The fourth one is the lowest value. I can change it to 2, or all the way to 127. I can actually have these 2 numbers completely switched around. This could be 127. This could be 0. But again, in this case, if I go to 80, it'll just move my my high pass filter up higher. It might be, maybe this could be 300 hertz, which is fine. I'll just leave it. You get out, you hit the edit button again. Now this goes back up to 80 instead of 73. So there's things you can do again with the button. You hit the edit button, hit one of your buttons that you want to affect. And again, if you go into here, if I edit this guy, you'll see that if I barely touch it, it's control, and it's channel 1, and it's I guess 33 would be its control number. Again, 0 to 127. This is absolute. I forget what that is. Relative, absolute. It's been a while. ID. That's your, if you want to have a button. Oh, ID 0, which means that if it'll go away if I go to 0. That LED will come off. So like, see how I come up? If I go all the way back to 0, the LED shuts off. I don't like that. I'd rather have it set to where it's just sitting there at the bottom. So now if it's all the way to 0, the LED is still there. So that's basically, you can get really in deep with all that stuff. And again, we only mapped what you see here to there. If I went into this guy, like I said before, these are 8 knobs. There's 8 more buttons. There's 16 more buttons. Again, 16 more buttons, 8 more knobs, 8 more buttons. And again, it's crazy. I don't understand why Behringer, why they didn't design it this way when you pull up that Presonus preset. A lot of you might be thinking right now, hey, where'd you get this this display, this label? Well, it's basically just a printout on a piece of paper. I made it in Adobe Illustrator. I can label it what I want, or I print a bunch of them that are just blank. It's all just white paper, and if I need to, I can just take a Sharpie and change stuff on the fly. If I had to, I could take it off, put another one on there if I'm working with one plugin a lot. Right now, this one is pretty much what I designed with the Schoeps Omnichannel, because I really like that plugin a lot. It's, I don't really have to do anything else. It's got it all right there. It's got the de-essers, it's got the gate. Sometimes there's more options in the gate, so what I can do is keep these as, other things. Like if I open up the EQ here, or the fat channel, you got your gate settings, you got your attack release, but the range, I changed one of these to key filter as for frequency, but I can hit these buttons here for key listen. Compressor, okay, here's key listen for the gate. Oh, here, key listen, frequency, full frequency. I want to listen to that. So if I want the gate to trigger off that high-end stuff, I can do that. If I go to the gate, same thing. If I want to key off of, let's say, just the kick drum or the snare, I can do that. So I hope that's helped somebody. Like I said, this thing, for what you can get for them, I think like maybe 200 bucks on Reverb, or maybe even cheaper. They are not expensive. And again, watching these other videos with the, like things like the Icon Pro X, it's really cool, but it's expensive. And if it doesn't work 100%, then screw it. One thing I wanted to touch on, and I'll probably leave it in the notes just so you don't have to watch this video. If you look up here where it says BCR2000 and 2K, and you see UCNET Remote, if I had my console plugged in right here, if I went from whatever, this channel and back to that channel, for some reason, it always defaults back to UCNET Remote. That's when my console's in DAW mode and I'm connected to it. And it's annoying because if I go back over here, it would pop over and go to UCNET, which is telling me that the UCNET is trying to push or make the console the entire controller surface. It's, plugin surface. Well, I don't want that. I only want it to be BCR2000 every time. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out how to shut that part off until I realized what you got to do is you got to go into here, external controllers, preferences, external devices. If you see here, UCNET, remove it. You got to remove it, I think, every time, because I think once I reboot and start Studio One again, it will show up again. It's not a big deal when I don't have my console plugged in, or I think if my iPad's trying to control stuff on here. It's just annoying. I need to write Presonus an email saying, hey, if I have this selected, I want to make sure that no matter where I'm at, if I select BCR2K, I want to be the BCR2K. But that's not the case. Every time you switch over, it would automatically default to the UCNET. So like I said, you got to go in there, just remove it, and you'll be fine. And that way all your plugins can be assigned to your BCR2000. It's like I said, there's a lot that you can map to this stuff. It takes a long time, but I don't use that many plugins. I stick to the handful, and I just go with it. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. I'm sure, you know, there's probably somebody out there who might comment and says, oh, do it this way, it's better, or do that, or why do you do this? I'm willing to learn more things about this thing. And I really wish Behringer would come out with a new unit that's not so old, you know, something that maybe has a little scribble strip on the knobs, and that would be, you know, sweet. But for now, leave a comment. If you want, maybe I can put a link and get you the Adobe Illustrator file, and you can play with it. Maybe I'll save it as a JPEG or a PNG. At least you can print it out. I had to print it out. If it was one sheet, it would have to be 11 by 17. So I had to do it on a, you know, industrial strength printer. I couldn't do it at home. But if you only have a printer at home, what you can do is you can tile it, meaning you can print this top part first and then this bottom part next. And what I did is I took a little utility knife with a razor on it and just cut out everywhere that needed the hole. And on that Adobe Illustrator, it'll actually show you a little blue line of where to cut out. It took me about maybe 15 minutes to do all this. It was really quick. That's all I got for now. Good luck. Hope you enjoyed this. I'm happy I was able to get that Behringer to do something more than what it was, I guess, exactly what it was designed to do. All right, thanks.